What's up, everyone? Today we are back with a special edition of gaming sessions. Gaming session is usually a weekly video that I kind of go through all the games that I've been playing of recent, and this week I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2, and most of that is because of the Into the Light update and all the cool stuff that Bungie showed during the preview for the final shape, which includes a new subclass, new exotic class armors, new enemies, and obviously there's going to be more that they're going to tease in the last 2 months here, right up until the final shape. Without further ado, let's get into what Bungie has been showing us with Into the Light update and with all the new things that we are going to see in the final shape. Let's get to it. Right off the bat, we get a small message from Luke Smith, the creative director of Destiny and Destiny 2, just to reassure fans that Destiny isn't going anywhere and the franchise will go on beyond the final shape. But right after that, we get right into the gameplay, which shows off a new HUD. It's different in many ways. You see a new super bar, you see different elemental abilities on your UI, and there are a lot more UI stuff that are going to be improved and added into the final shape. You see them zipping around using the grapple and combining the grapple with that grenade explosion ability, and that really made the gameplay feel fluid and a lot of systems in play that we wouldn't really have in the game otherwise. And this was a showcase of a new subclass for the final shape called Prismatic, and this will differ in different ways for each class. But the main goal of the Prismatic subclass is to combine many of subclasses within a Titan or a Hunter or a Warlock, which really makes this amazing feeling synergy based gameplay. The Prismatic subclass really gives us more customizable aspects of our own Guardian. If we want to have throwing knives as our main attack ability, then that's something we can have, and combine that with stasis where you're freezing them. So there's a lot of things that I could see people kind of breaking the game with all the synergies with the abilities, and we'll get to it. But the new exotic subclass armor, which will enable a lot more synergized gameplay throughout the whole campaign. Bungie really wants us to think about how we're gonna build our own Guardian, and just the amount of ways you can manipulate the abilities,
certain class abilities from different damage types together.
Getting light and dark and mastering it. No one's done that before. Like, the Witness is manipulating the energies like this, but the Witness is not a master of light and dark. You are. The Guardian is. Players are.
The exotic traits on a weapon or a armor or whatever the case may be, especially with the new exotic. But throughout the first section of the game, we see a lot of gameplay using Prismatic subclass. You see the Titan, where they combine the Solar Slam with the Stasis Slam, which creates a barrier. Because of the Solar subclass, you create this wave of flames in front of you, and with the Stasis combining with that, you create a shield wall right in front of you. So that creates a double meaning to that ability. And in the video, they kind of show a little bit of how they use Strand and Stasis together to kind of slow them down and suspend them in the air. And for the Warlock, it seems like they can summon a lot more using their Strand abilities and their Void abilities. They explain a lot of how you're using Devour to sustain yourself, and then using a big clear ability so you can bring back the Devour. So you're kind of using the cycle over and over again to make this very insanely blinky jump Warlock. that can be very fun if we can make it work in some way. But along with that, there are new grenades to throw at when you're equipping your prismatic subclass. So for the hunter, they have a hailfire spike. This combines stasis and solar elements together, and it can stick onto enemies or surfaces, and after a while it will detonate and cause a big explosion and ignite. And for the Titan, they have an electrified snare, which combines strand and arc together and detonates a stationary burst. Whoever is in that stationary burst will take massive damage over time, and it will also emit lightning around the surrounding area to catch whoever is around the grenade. And last is the Warlock, which is called Freezing Singularity. And from that kind of makes you think about a black hole and something with ice. And that's pretty much what it is. It combines a void and stasis element that it deploys a black hole, which also surrounds the black hole with ice shards, and that creates a more bigger AoE. But that feels like a very deadly combination if you can add a Titan snare and a Warlock Singularity all together. That can create some insane explosions and cover a lot of ground. And of course, Bungie has been leaning into the customization aspect of subclasses, and with that came fragments, which are mods to your subclasses that can really enable a certain build or playstyle you want to play. So for me, on my Void, I have a lot of explosions that will stick to enemies, and when I kill the enemies while they still have the Void energy within them, that will cause them to explode once I kill them, and that will cause a chain and a chain, and it will keep going, and that creates some insane explosions, which I love. Again, the fragments are here to customize our subclasses in different ways that cater to our playstyle. And in Last Shape, there are gonna have reworked fragments and also new ones that will come in the game. 21 to be exact, which is 5 to 6 more than what they usually release with an expansion. So that's pretty exciting to see what they change, what they add, and to see if the community can really exploit those systems and fragments. And a neat quality of life feature where your fragments will carry over to your next character, so you don't have to go keep collecting them for each character, which is a nice thing that I feel like Bungie really had to put in, because this game is already insanely grindy, and we don't need any more of those kind of grindy stuff, especially when we have multiple characters we play. So as you can see on the screen, there are a couple that kind of seem interesting for the fragments. One of the fragments that caught my eye was the Facet of Justice, and it's one of the explosion fragments. So anything with explosion, like I said, is going to be in my playstyle. The next thing that Bungie talked about and kind of excited a lot of people, including me, are the exotic class items. And if you don't know the class items, obviously, if you're watching this, yeah, you obviously know. It's like a cape for your hunter, band for your warlock, or a sash for the Titan. So those are going to have a new exotic class type that will kind of borrow different exotic traits of other exotics and put them into the exotic class item. And that creates a lot more synergy with how you want to play. There are a lot to like about what they had to say with the exotic class items here. Top of that, it just looks incredible. All the stuff that they've shown for the visual effects of the class items are insanely slick. The hunter had like this cape that shined all the way behind him. It was kind of majestic. It's awesome. I'll just try to find that and show it in the video. The Titan, which is my main class, is alright. It doesn't seem too crazy, but the hunter's cloak was pristine. I love it so much. And when they transform to transcendent, that kind of creates a different look for them. I think they nailed everything art direction wise, and I just love everything about the warlock and hunter. And the Titan, I can learn to love. But getting back to the gameplay aspect of the exotic class items. Like I said before, you take perks from different exotics and you add them to the exotic class items. And you will have 2 perks that will be available to use from. And not only that, this is a grinding game, so it will be random rolled. I just feel like that's a great sign of the community that they have here. We don't want a lot of things be given to us. We want it to be gameplay focused. We want it to be really rewarding and kind of make us feel like there's a challenge in getting those rewards. And I don't know how difficult it is to drop these exotic class items. If we can't farm them in a regular way just to get the perfect stat that we need for a certain build, I feel like that's a perfect way to go about it. But if it's like a rare drop that we would only find like 5 or 6 times through a, you know, like 100-hour playthrough or something like that, that might discourage a lot of people of doing like farming them. And we just gotta see how Bungie implements the class items during the final shape. But we've been asking for multi-exotic equipments for a very long time now, ever since like D1 from what I remember. As a community, we understood that there are limitations to how high our power fantasy can achieve, and compare that with like gameplay mechanics and how that can be challenging for us. So that's a difficult balance that Bungie is gonna have to work through. Been doing a pretty good job at balancing stuff and not keeping one meta for like the whole duration of an expansion, right? Finally having these multiple exotic traits on this mark kind of alleviates our talking points of having multiple exotics on. Man, I feel like this is a good medium for it. It probably will break the game in different ways that Bungie probably hasn't expected. Right now, I feel like the game needs to just be fun at the moment. They've been struggling a little bit for the past year. There's just a lot to like about what they're doing with the new subclass and the exotic items. And finally, we're getting new enemy factions. It's been like 6 to 7 years since we got new enemies. I think the last one was Forsaken. I think it was just a score. Yeah, finally we got a new faction called the Dread. And these are groups, I think, of the Witness. They're there to serve him, and yeah, I'm not really sure what their whole deal is, but I know that they're there to serve the Witness. They have certain abilities from the Witness, kind of similar to Callus. So for the Dread, we did meet 2 of them during Lightfall, the Subjugator and the Tormentor, which are kind of insanely powerful. Actually, it catches you off guard if you're not ready, so that was something I wasn't prepared for. But yeah, we saw the Subjugator and the Tormentor in Lightfall. So now in the final shape, we are going to meet the whole cast of crew of Dread, one of them being the Grim, which are like the first flying enemies in the game. They look like bats. They called them bats with guns in the video, which is an apt comparison. And with the projectiles the bat shoots out, it will suppress you, so you won't be able to use any of your abilities, and you're also slowed down, so you're gonna be hindered quite a bit if you get hit by one of these screeching things from the Grim. And for the second enemy, we have the Husk, which are these melee. They're pretty big. They're pretty big. They're melee focused enemies that will focus on you like head on. So they're gonna jump on you like right away. You kind of have to be aware of which enemies you're facing, and not only that, you kind of have to kill them in the right way. And if you don't, they summon a geist out of their bodies, and if you don't kill the geist, it will home onto you and explode. And from what I understand, that is a instant kill. This is gonna be an enemy that we're gonna have to look for, almost exactly like the hobgoblins in like any raid, because they are insanely deadly. And our last two dread are the Attendant and the Weaver, which are scions that have been adapted to the Witness's power. One is focused on stasis, another is focused on strand. They're gonna have like darkness abilities that will hinder you in different ways. So you might get stranded and like hung up in the air, or you might get frozen in stasis. So there are a lot of those scary abilities. The game is all about moving and fast-paced action, and when you can't do that, it's very dangerous and scary. And this being the first enemy faction in about 67 years, it's kind of crazy. It's really needed though. We've been shooting the same enemies for 7 years, I guess, but even then the scoring are very similar to the Fallen and the way they move and stuff like that. But they do make it interesting by changing where the weak point is. But finally we get a new faction, the Dread, and they seem insanely scary, so can't wait to see how many of these Dread kill me, and hopefully we can find like clever ways to combat them, or maybe it's just killing the dangerous one faster or immediately. And that's it for this week for Destiny 2 and the final shape. Bungie did have a pretty big update in the base game with Into the Light, which added a new PvE mode, Onslaught. It has similar ideas to tower defense and boss rushes. So it's a tower defense where you complete a certain wave and then you go to a boss room and you kind of repeat that over and over. Could be because I took so much time off, but right now at the moment I feel like that gameplay is just so much fun, and I'm sure if I keep playing it as I did before, I will get kind of bored. And this little information dump of the final shape really got me excited to play what's to come in the final shape. This wasn't something I wanted to play. I held off on the last expansion, Lightfall. It didn't really grab me in any way. I know the Strand class was kind of the thing that grabbed me the most. After seeing all the reviews and hearing what people have to say, I felt like I could hold off on a Lightfall, and I did. Until this point. This is also fun getting into it like this. I don't have the story beats in the moment, like how they update the story every week. I feel like you can get a lot of that through other channels, through YouTube, through Fife or Unknown. Like there's a lot of YouTube channels about the story and where it's going and where it came from before. So yeah, there's always something to learn about when it comes to the lore and the world. Again, those are the things that got me excited to play the next expansion before. More and more over time, I just lost the thread of the story, and that kind of waned on my interest. But now that I'm kind of disconnected from the last year of story, I feel like I just go in and have fun with the gameplay and hopefully get some cool loot within the raids or the dungeons and stuff like that. And that is gonna do it for this video. It's kind of my excitement for Destiny 2 in the future and what they're bringing for the final shape. And it's been a while since I've been excited for an expansion for Destiny. And that's going to be it for this video. If you like the video, please sub, please thumbs it up. And if you want to see me live, I'm on Twitch and I'm also on the YouTube channel here. Give me a follow, give me a sub if you want to see more cool Destiny 2 stuff or any video game stuff in general. It is always fun to see what everyone's playing, what the feeling of the biggest game at the moment. I hope to see and hear you guys in the next video. So see ya with more Destiny 2 and video game stuff. Peace.